Alright, Shalom. I want to begin by giving all glory and praises to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Chakwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Shalom to the hopefully elect. And shalom to all the Akim pushing this truth with sincerity. It's your brother Itazwan from the GMS Columbus branch coming back again with another video through the Spirit. Lord's will it be edifying. And it's going to be a little quick hit through the Spirit. I was just sitting here reading over Sirach the 12th chapter, and pretty much, you go into this chapter concerning being aware of your enemies. All right. And we know one of our chief enemies is the so-called white man, all right, who are the biblical Edomites, according to the scriptures, all right? And we are to be aware of this man, be vigilant, you see? Pay attention and be attentive to this man, all right? And understand that no matter what, all right, this man is the wicked. And we are to not trust this man, you see? But here it is. In 2025, you got mass majority of our people, these so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans who go back to the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, all right, who trust in their enemy, man, okay? And us being, of the Lord's sheep, all right? We are to, like I said, be attentive to this man. Pay attention, all right, as it is written, all right? Not being ignorant to his devices, etc. So I'm going to just read Sirach 12. I'm going to start at verses 10. I may just read the rest of the chapter, Lord willing. And we just going to go into it. So this is Sirach 12 and 10. It says, never trust thine enemy. All right. And, you read Psalms 83rd chapter. We understand that we have enemies, man. Like I said, chiefly the so-called white man, which are the biblical Edomites, from the Moabites to the Ammonites to the Hamites. All right, the Ammonites, Moabites, the Asiatic nations, or the Asian nations today, so-called Asian nations today. You got the Hamitic nations, all right, the so-called Africans, and their different tribes, etc. Okay, but like I said, chiefly so-called Edomites, or Salaki, not the so-called the Edomites, the so-called white men, all right, or the white race. It says, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness, right? So when you understand what rust is, all right, rust is pretty much something that is corrosive or corroding, all right, that cause corrosion, all right? Certain metals, like it says iron, or rusteth, or rustus, or rust, Salakia. All right. It corrodes over time. Okay. This is so is his wickedness, right? So it's comparing this man's wickedness to rust. All right. Pretty much his wickedness is corroding. And what is, happening when something is corroding? All right. It's destroying it. You see? Or it's destructive, to that metal. All right, and to whatever it attaches itself to. You see? It's as though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him. Right? You see? And that is something that, Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, is great at doing. As the scriptures say, and it's Matthew the 27th chapter. He was a cunning hunter. All right? So he's very crafty, he's very deceptive, all right? We understand that ultimately this man's spirit goes back to the serpent in the garden, all right? He's a beguiler, he's a sorcerer, he uses trickery, deceit, he tries to come off as meek and humble, all right? And tries to act, like I said, very peaceably, or as the scriptures say in, is that Psalms? Is it 58? Or is it 55? Let me see. 55. This is 55, I think. Yep, Psalms 55 and 21. It says, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. Cast thy burden upon the Yahweh, and he will sustain thee. He shall never suffer the righteous to be moved. Right. So when you're dealing with the wicked, this man comes with soft words, see, very peaceably, all right, so to speak. But, internally, this man is conjuring up war. He's deceiving you, all right? He's planning on how he can destroy you, all right? Just as rust is, to iron, it's destructive, see? Let's go back to Sirach 12, finishing out 11. It says in the middle, it says, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou has wiped a looking glass, right? So, for us, we have to, be as a looking glass, all right? Or in this context, a looking glass is a mirror, you see? So we have to constantly wipe that mirror and be vigilant so we can see this man for who he is, all right? And ultimately, when you go into a further, a looking glass or a mirror in the ancient world, was made out of, usually, some type of iron or bronze, and over time, if you don't take care of it, that rust will come upon it, you see? So you got to constantly keep it polished, all right? So, and if, for us, we got to constantly be vigilant and diligent, and keeping that mirror clean so we can see this man, for what he is and who he is, man, the devil, okay? And thou shalt know that his rust have not been altogether wiped away, right? Like I said, and thou shalt know that his rust, right, his wickedness have not been altogether wiped away, right? See? So if we be attentive and vigilant, and not get overtaken by his rust or his wickedness, and not let our mirror get dirty, we will see that this man, he's always been wicked. He's still wicked, although he come crouching, although he come humbly, all right? Although his words are smooth, okay, and soft like butter as it is written, you see? So we have to be vigilant, all right? Pay attention, be attentive, be circumspect, especially in these times now. Can't let the media, or propaganda get to us, all right? Be simple, you see? We can't let, we can't be caught up in his snares, his traps, all right? Because what's one thing he's going to come with that's going to ultimately trap a lot of people, that MOTB is going to come with those smooth words. He's going to come crouching and humbly. He's going to push, convenience, and all these things that, will so-called better your life or make your life easier, okay? But in turn, this man has war in his heart, and he isn't to be trusted. All right, verse 12, it says, set him not by thee, lest when he have overthrown thee, he shall stand up in thy place. Right, don't get too close to this man. And see, that's the problem. Like you had, in particular, the Sakari, who start getting too close to the devil. One of them being Adam 22, an insider, all right, who has, helped, forward the destruction of the so-called black community, which, hey, so be it, but ultimately, these people are our people, in the sense of, us being a nation, okay, but, this man has an agenda as well, has publicized violence and gang members and is making a paycheck from it. See, he has overthrown a lot of you people, man, got a lot of people locked up, put in jail, etc. And that's, how it goes in the industry as a whole, period. It says, neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat. And thou At the last, remember my words and be pricked therewith. Who will pity a charmer? Right. So this like so now it's to the point like, hey, I can't feel bad for you, because you allow this, like a charmer. Who will pity a charmer that has been with a serpent? All right. So a charmer or snake charmer is an entertainer. Pretty much who entertains or like snakes. I don't know if people remember, or like in certain movies, they have like the flute, and they do the flute noise, and then the snake come through the vase and all that, or even now, like as it's going to read real quick, for any such as come nigh wild beast, right, or like alligator, performers and all that, they tap the alligator on the nose, and throw the little piece of fish in his mouth, and whatever. Like, you're not gonna have a pity on a snake charmer, because he shouldn't have been playing with a snake. You ain't gonna have pity on a man who playing with an alligator or trying to wrestle a bear. You shouldn't have been that close to that wild beast. Same thing for us. We shouldn't be close to the wicked. All right? Because like it says again, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness, right? We get too close to this man, you'll eventually, get destroyed, all right? Or overtaken, by his wickedness, the same way rust overtakes iron. Okay? It reads, verse 14. So one that goeth to a sinner and is defiled with him and his sins, who will pity, right? You see? So one that goeth to a sinner and is defiled with him and his sins, who will pity, right? So you can't get too close to these, man. You can't trust these people. All right? Don't trust the wicked. See? Because his rust will overtake you, man. His wickedness. Verse 15, it says, for a while he will abide with thee, but thou begin to fall, he will not tarry. An enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips, but in his heart he imagineth how to overthrow thee into a pit. He will weep with his eyes, but if he find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood. You see? One more time. An enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips. We just linked that up with that Psalms 55. All right? But in his heart, he imagineth how to overthrow thee into a pit, right? So in this man's heart, he's thinking how he can conquer you, imprison you, destroy you, all right? Corrupt you. See? He will weep with his eyes, do all that humble shit. All right? It says, but if he find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood. If adversity come upon thee, thou shalt find him there first. And though he pretend to help thee, yet shall he undermine thee. He will shake his head and clap his hands and whisper much and change his countenance, man. See? This man is not to be trusted. Again, for you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, don't trust this man. Scriptures read, woe unto them that go down for Egypt, go to Egypt for help, roughly paraphrasing, you see? All right? So we're not to trust this man no matter what. Okay? What's that scripture? Isaiah the 10th chapter, I believe. They should no longer stay upon them that smote them. I think it's Isaiah 10. It's Isaiah, and like I said, ultimately, the elect, will follow this these sayings. All right, this breakdown. Okay, Isaiah 10:20 says, and it shall come to pass in that day that the remnant of Israel, and as such are escaped of the house of Jacob, shall no more again stay upon him that smote them. Right, we're not going to trust this man no more. You see, like we once did in the world. Trusted in his financial system, trusted in, his society, his laws, his ways, his pension, his social security, etc. But shall stay upon Yahweh, the Holy One of Israel, in truth, right? See? We lean and trust in Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shah. We don't trust in man. We don't trust in princes. We don't trust in the wicked. All right? Who's the wicked? Malachi 1:4, the Edomites, the biblical Edomites. All right? The so-called white man today in modern terms. You see? The remnant shall return, even the remnant of Jacob, unto the mighty God. You see? So, yeah, plain, man. Just wanted to bring that out through the spirit. Was just sitting here doing some reading. Figure I'd do a quick video concerning this chapter, just doing the reread of this chapter. And this is heavy, man, But I'm gonna call it that. Something short, real quick through the spirit. Alright. We'll give all glory and praises to Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai Bahashim Rechakudah Shalom.